leaders, as well as board members and donor advice fund holders, to just hear more about what our applicants and grantees have been sharing with us. And this time we chose the topic of arson healing. I think it's very apropos in terms of what we see going on. Of course, we are still grappling with the remnants of the pandemic. And we see through our community needs assessment that mental health is a top priority, so we just thought it was a perfect fit for this cycle this time around. I want to acknowledge, first and foremost, one of our elected officials, the Honorable Judge Joy Oldfield. And we do have members of Akron Community Foundation's Board of Directors. We do have President Marty Hauser. There, thanks. We have Jody Constant, who is also the chair of our community committee. We have Katie Smucker. And then we also have Mark Backman with us. Thank you so much. All right, so with that, we're going to jump right in. We have a great set of members of the community as our panel, great experts also on the table. And I'm excited to have you all listen to what they have to share with you today, and especially excited to have Brody also with us, who is going to be sharing about his personal experience. So I want to start with all of them introducing themselves and sharing a little bit more of who they are, who they work, where do they work, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Michelle Morton. I am a art therapist. I'm also a licensed professional clinical counselor in the state of Ohio. I work for Community Support Services. We are a local company here in Akron, a nonprofit. I'm used to yelling. I'm used to yelling in group therapy. So
it's great for us to
I'm not used. I have to make sure I tone it down. I use my really nice, calm, regulated voice. So I'm with Community Support Services. We are over on Wolf Ledges in Thornton. We've been around since 1988. I have been there for almost 3 years, but I've been an art therapist for, I should have done that math, almost 10 years. Yeah, almost 10 years. At Community Support Services, we provide wraparound services for anyone in Summit County with a severe and persistent mental illness. So that looks like someone that is struggling with severe depression that impacts their daily living. It looks like someone with schizophrenia with active hallucinations or delusions. It looks like someone struggling with a personality disorder that affects their relationship and can affect their daily living as well. It could be the person that you see walking down the street that's panhandling. It could be the person struggling with a drug addiction. And so all of these clients that we serve can benefit from our services in a number of ways. So we provide, I don't want to say your basic psychiatric services, but a lot of places think that we only provide psychiatric services for mental health, and that's not all we do. So we provide psychiatric services, including nursing, medication, psychological care. But we also have a primary care clinic where clients can see a regular primary physician for their physical health. We even have podiatry once a month. We have our own pharmacy from Klein's. Klein's has their own pharmacy in our building at Community Support Services. We also provide case management for our clients. A lot of clients that we serve struggle with the logistics of life, how to get on their feet, how to maintain housing, how to get a job, how to apply for Social Security, how to, you name it, they probably need assistance with it in some way. And so our case management team is amazing. They have so many clients though right now, it's just a thankless job. Some of our case managers are serving 80 to 100 clients right now. And then on top of that, we also have peer support. We have intensive treatment services, which is what I'm a part of. So that includes counseling, group therapy, art therapy, and cognitive enhancement therapy. We also have a residential program where we have 2 whole apartment buildings for our clients to help them get into their own independent, stable housing, Stony Point and Madeline Commons. Then we also have group homes and some safe haven locations. On top of that, we have a homeless outreach program where not anyone actually, you don't have to be a client yet to get started with homeless outreach. You can just walk in for assistance. But they have showers, laundry facilities, things like that. And they provide the case management services as well for the homeless and help get them started with our services if they have a mental health condition going on. So we try to, they kind of help bring them in. They do also a thankless job. Then we also have substance use disorder treatment where we're working with a co-occurring population, so that's where there's a mental health diagnosis and a drug or alcohol diagnosis as well. And then we have employment services where we help clients get a job and keep a job. We do job coaching and interviewing, and they work with resumes and all kinds of things. So that's a little bit about CSS. I wanted to share a little bit.
Yeah, we can pass it and then come back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You want to go? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I thought you wanted me to do the whole
No, we'll
thing.
just wait until we come back.
Okay.
Give you
Keep
enough time
going.
for that.
Sorry, I'm gonna cut you off.
That's okay, that's all right. Okay, so I'm Karen Snyder, I'm the Chief Operations Officer for Second Act. And Second Act has been around since 1988 in Boston, Massachusetts, and our Ohio chapter started in 2018. And we are a collective of artists in recovery that utilize theater, drama therapy, and film to address substance use. And we have 3 main programs: prevention plays, and those are performed by our artists in recoveries, mostly for middle schools and high schools, and they are original drama therapeutic productions as a substance use prevention intervention. Then we have social emotional learning workshops, and those help to prevent substance use, reduce harm, and also support students with their overall mental health and well-being. And then we also have drama therapy groups. And these drama therapy groups use theater to support mental health, inspire insight into past traumas, and also help develop coping strategies. So that's about our program.
Okay, so my name is Brody. I am a member of the drama therapy group that Karen had so kindly just mentioned. I am currently myself in recovery and participating in Judge Oldfield's Turning Point program, which is how I came into contact with them. It's been a phenomenal program, just collaborating with the other people there and helping to create a play. It's been a wonderful outlet for me personally and helping and aid me in my recovery. It's not typically the opportunity that you get whenever you come into recovery as new as I am, as I have just over 7 months sober today. So that's greatly appreciated. But yeah, it's a wonderful experience. I'm excited to tell you guys a little bit more about it here in the upcoming opportunity.
Wow, I'm in awe of the people sitting next to me. I'm just a band director. My name is Galen Karriker, and I'm the director of bands at the University of Akron. And years ago, Linda was one of our colleagues in the School of Music, and she now runs and organizes the Akron Symphonic Winds, which I'm going to let her tell you about. But she asked me a couple of years ago if I would serve as the conductor of that organization as well, which I gladly accepted and have enjoyed ever since. So I'll let her fill you in. This is Linda.
And I'm so thankful he did. My name is Linda. I'm the founder of the Akron Symphonic Winds. We are dedicated to bringing communities together through music and music education to all. I founded it in 2016 to bring jobs to our professional musicians in the Akron and Northeast Ohio area, and to bring free live music to all. That is extremely important because in so many communities, live music is restricted to those who can afford to pay for it. But it should be for everybody. And that was the impetus of starting and founding the Akron Symphonic Winds. And it's been wonderful ever since, thanks to him as well. And then we started our work in the schools. And so we also go in assisting the band directors working side by side with the students, doing joint concerts together with the students, and giving sectionals and lessons and workshops with the students as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda, so much. Yeah, so this is, again, our panel, and I just want to share Community Support Services as well as Akron Symphonic Wind is a current grantee of ours. Second Act is a new applicant, which we're excited to, again, introduce you to them and the work that they're doing in Akron. Obviously not new to you, Judge, but new to most of us. So we're going to get it going now with each of their presentations. We shared some questions in advance based on, again, what we're seeing and what their strengths in their programs are. So go ahead now, Michelle, and share a little bit more about Community Support Services and Akron Recovery, right?
Yes,
Yes,
thank
thank
you.
you.
Yeah, so part of what we do at Community Support Services is we have Art of Recovery, which is an event that we host every year. And then we also have art therapy, and I want to tell you a little bit about both since I get to be in charge of both of those things. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about art therapy, and I don't love speaking on the fly, I'm not gonna lie to you. I love doing it with my clients, but I'm used to a little bit less stable of an audience. So I wanna tell you a little bit about art therapy that I kind of have pre-printed here. So I'm gonna read from it, and I apologize ahead of time, but it's just easier for me to give you that rendition. And then I wanna talk about how we incorporate that at CSS. So art therapy is an integrative mental health and human services profession that enriches the lives of individuals, families, and communities through active art making, the creative process, and applied psychology theory with a human experience within a psychotherapeutic relationship. So art therapy is facilitated by a professional art therapist, effectively supports personal and relational treatment goals as well as community concerns. Art therapy is used to improve cognitive and sensory motor functions, foster self-esteem and self-awareness, cultivate emotional resilience, promote insight, enhance social skills, reduce and resolve conflicts and distress, and advance societal and ecological change. Art therapists are master-level clinicians who work with people of all ages across a broad spectrum of practice, guided by ethical standards and scope of practice. Their education and supervised training prepares them for culturally proficient work in diverse populations in a variety of different settings. Honoring individuals' values and beliefs, art therapists work with people who are challenged with medical and mental health problems, as well as individuals seeking emotional, creative, and spiritual growth. Through integrative methods, art therapy engages mind, body, and spirit in ways that are distinct from verbal articulation alone. That's my favorite part. Kinesthetic, sensory, perceptual, and symbolic opportunities invite alternative modes of receptive and expressive communication, which can circumvent the limitations of language. Visual and symbolic expression gives voice to experience and empowers individual, communal, and societal transformation. And most of this is from our American Art Therapy Association, which is part of the ethics that I follow. And so I've worked with art therapy, like I said, for about 10 years. I've worked with, I've worked with a variety of different populations. But this is probably the most insightful population I've worked with. I used to only work with children and teens in the foster care system, trauma. I worked with male adolescent sex offenders in the court system. And moving to adults, I thought I would feel overwhelmed, and I thought I would feel almost threatened that I was like this young art therapist going into this, and I found the total opposite. I adore the population with mental illness. I find that being an art therapist, I get to help them express the things that they've never got to in any other way. And in a lot of ways, even though I'm working with adults, we're really helping to heal like that inner child. So at Community Support Services, the art therapy program, I have groups and individual sessions. So we have a group therapy session once a week where clients are able to come to group free of charge. They're a client of CSS already, and we use art to explore trauma, we explore anxiety, depression, we explore the conflicts, how do we resolve those, we work on identifying our inner thoughts and feelings. A lot of people don't even know how they feel because they're so used to the trauma and their survival that they've just suppressed all the emotions. So giving them a space to like just really open up and figure out what those are, identify them, and then work with them in the external sense is so powerful. And then I also work with clients in an open studio format where they can come in. That's what we just had today, actually. That's where I just came from, so a total switch. Where clients can come in and we just make art for 2 hours. We just free art everything. They can use any materials that we have, which is why it's so important that we have our funding for art therapy so we can buy things, so they can make things, because I don't know if you know how much paper you can go through, but it's a lot. And so in open studio, it gives them a place that they would never get to create art otherwise. They don't have the money for it, they don't have the space for it, they don't have the time where they take care of themselves. And so when they come to art group, they're just taking care of them, not anyone else. And so that's lovely to watch. And then individual therapy, I am a counselor as well, so I have a dual credential that I incorporate. I say it's a little bit of both, but to me they're one and the same. It's really hard to distinguish what's the difference between counseling and art therapy because you're really doing both, just on a different medium. Instead of talking through words, you're talking through art. And you're helping them work through and resolve things that they would not have any other way to do. So the change that I've seen in people is just phenomenal. So one of the questions you said is, how have I seen someone go through some type of transformation, or how has this been powerful for them? And this isn't about art of recovery, but I promise I'll get there. I promise I'll get there, Michael. So in individual therapy, one of my clients, he's been that classic bad kid his whole life. He calls himself the bad kid. You know, I was always in trouble, I was doing this, I was doing that. And his artwork is up here on the right. So he made this in individual art therapy, and later you'll have to come up and give it a closer look, but he discovered that a lot of his identity was the abuse that he went through in childhood and the negative things that he heard. And so he made a self-portrait of all the things that he hears in his mind. His biggest one up there was he was really happy he got to write the F word on his artwork. But that's truly how he sees himself, that he's broken, that he's the one that's wrong, that he is the one who's made these mistakes instead of the environment around you wasn't healing for you and it wasn't nurturing. And so with this piece, we were really able to work through a lot of that and use the broken glass, that it's not an accurate reflection of him. And that was the piece that he didn't realize until he was done with it. He wanted to use the mirror pieces and he wanted to put all of his negative internal self-talk, but he didn't realize till the end that it's broken because it's not accurate. And that was huge and powerful. And now this kid, he's just doing so good. He has a job. He's not in our group home anymore. We're looking, he should be getting an apartment soon. He hasn't been in the hospital for maybe 6 months, which is really a big improvement for him. So,
And both are his?
no, sorry, that's just the one on the right. So the one on the left is also an individual that was in a group therapy session. And this gives you insight into what it's like to be stuck in psychosis, is what he said. He has the third eye on top, and if you haven't been in mental health much, the third eye comes up a lot. But for him, it was this all-seeing, all-knowing, but also extremely paranoia eye that was feeling like everyone was watching him, people were controlling him. And so this artwork has the duct tape across the mouth and it says, "Help me." And he was expressing, trying to advocate to others what it feels like. And so for him, this was really powerful that he got to express a side of himself that he feels like people misunderstand. So then outside of art therapy, but it kind of blends in with it, we have Art of Recovery every year. Art of Recovery is an event that CSS puts on with the help of Michael and Angie in our marketing department, which are in the back, so I have to give them a shout out because they help do everything for me with this show, all the marketing materials, all the things. We usually do that at the art museum across the street, where clients of CSS get to sell their artwork. So this year we had 20 artists from CSS sell 47 pieces. Thank you, Angie. 47 pieces. Any client at CSS can put their art in Art of Recovery. They don't have to be in art therapy. So some of the pieces are from art therapy and some of the pieces are just art that clients who happen to also be artists get to sell. And we had phenomenal artists this year. There was people I'd never heard of because we have over like 4,000 clients. And there was artists that came out of the woodwork and I'm like, where have you been? This year alone, the clients made over $8,500 on their artwork. Yeah, so they get to make 75% of the profit from the sale of the artwork. We keep 25% to go back to art therapy to help fund materials and things like that. And next year will be our 10-year anniversary, probably sometime around March. I don't think we've set a date yet, but be on the lookout for that. But it started back in 2015, and then art therapy started in 2016, so we've kept it going every year. The artists love this event, and our clients love this event because it's just so powerful. I can't tell you, like, even the emotions I was feeling that night, to be able to see their faces, shake their hand, give them their award, say thank you for participating, or to see the look on their face when they sold a picture for $600. Like, it's just phenomenal, yes. And we had so many art entries this year, we actually had to cut it down, and it was really hard. But each client could have up to 4 pieces, and one client alone, she sold her artwork for 4 pieces of art, she sold for a total of $2,000. It was phenomenal. And so Art of Recovery gives them a chance to boost self-esteem, self-confidence, self-worth, and it also gives them an identity outside of the quote, "I'm mentally ill." That they can identify, I'm an artist, I'm a human, I can do other things too. And then the last thing I wanted to go over before you guys can ask any questions you got, is you asked me also about how does it help? How does art help people with severe and persistent mental illness? So today I actually asked my group this question because I wanted to hear what they would say. So these are some of their responses. It gets you out of your head. It's a nice distraction. It occupies your thoughts and slows down your racing thoughts. When you can't or you don't want to talk, you can express yourself with art to communicate. And then someone else said, art heals me. And then this one is one of my favorite ones that wasn't from today, but this was a client for Art of Recovery. When we filmed our interviews for artists for Art of Recovery, he said, art freed me. And that to me was probably my favorite. So
It's powerful.
it was very powerful.
And we'll definitely write down your questions mentally because we'll definitely come back and we'll go ahead and, Karen, please share a little bit more.
Sure thing. So, yeah, thank you so much for talking about art therapy. So, yeah, when people can get up close to that piece of artwork, one of the things that he wrote is, why am I like this? Before, when I introduced myself, myself, I didn't also share that I'm a person in long-term recovery. And so that question, why am I like this, is something that I had a lot before I got in recovery. Except my question was, what's wrong with me? Which is a very similar question. And so I'm so grateful for recovery. So one of the questions is, why does theater help in recovery? And so, to just share a little bit personally and then talk about our drama therapy. So when I was in early recovery, I had a few years sober when my friend in recovery told me about this organization, and she knew that I had a theater background, and she thought, you should really, be a part of this, and I had some trepidation because for me, when I was drinking, the one thing I loved about acting was that I was portraying someone else because I didn't like who I was. And so when I got into recovery, I thought, I don't know if I want to go back on stage, because that is, that path was, I was trying to be someone else. And so the great thing about saying yes and being a part of these productions was the fact that, yes, I was portraying a character, but it was someone who had gone through similar things that I had gone through, right? And they had the same feelings. And so for me, that was powerful for my own recovery to really kind of get that sense of power back in the theater for myself, but also just, remembering that I also don't want to go back to that place of where I was, not only physically drinking, but also mentally. So talking about our current drama therapy program that we're partnering right now with the Turning Point program, with Oriana House and Makeshift Theater, is called a COAT model. And so this is called Coactive Therapeutic Theater, and it's a manualized drama therapy technique specifically to help in the transition from an intensive treatment setting into independent recovery from substance use disorder. And this offers the participants a creative space, and in the end, they will be performing a performance for their drug court graduation in June. And so it really has that group therapy element of, you have this sense of community, being with other people who are early on in recovery, and again, going back personally, community is a huge part of my recovery. And I will have Brody share about his experience.
Thank you, Karen. So like I said, Brody, before I share a little bit about that experience, I did want to let everybody know, I was checking this painting out before, we had started here. This painting really resonated with me. This piece is phenomenal. And that was me not that long ago. I felt a lot of those things, so I encourage everybody to check it out on your way out the door. But that being said, my experience with Second Act has been a phenomenal experience. As Karen said, it's more than just like a community. I feel a brotherhood with the guys in there and a sisterhood with the girls. It is literally a family in there. We meet every week, we share ideas, we collaborate. It's almost like, it's gonna seem kind of weird, but it's almost like having a child with a bunch of different people. You know what I mean? Like we birthed this thing and we grew it, and now it's coming to fruition, and I'm so excited to present it and share with other people. Because I was talking to Karen previously, and it's a sad thing sometimes. It's a very sombering experience to be in recovery. I had a friend who just died a couple days ago, and it's a frequent occurrence. So to have the opportunity to go in front of a bunch of people and put a little bit more of a whimsical spin on this is a beautiful thing. To be able to share my pain and my lived experience, and not just that, but my triumph and the triumph of everybody else in that group is a phenomenal thing. It's truly awe-inspiring to see how religiously the members show up. aside from just me. I mean, everybody's there every week, usually early, to talk about these things. You know, we've got all kinds of different ideas, and I mean, for me, it's been an integral part of my recovery. Being that I'm still so new and early in my recovery, it has been essential. And if I'm being honest, I was a little hesitant to join at first. When I heard what drama therapy was, I was like, I'm in school right now, I've got work, I'm busy, it's a lot of time. And like, I never really went to much of high school. You know, from 15 to 18, I was in like 7 inpatients in jail, and I didn't really have much of a high school experience. I didn't really have any idea of like what drama really was. I never went to plays or had like a club I was in. And it has been a completely new experience. It reminds me of like when you're a child, you know, and you play like cops and robbers, or you're playing, you know, Barbies or whatever it is, and you have that opportunity to use your imagination and to experience things and, you know, view it from a different lens. At some point throughout my life, I lost that, you know, and I lost a lot of things as I was in my active addiction. And this gave me the opportunity to re-explore that imaginative piece of myself, to re-explore a side of myself that I hadn't thought of in over a decade. And I'm not that old, so that's a long, huge portion of my life. But aside from that, this experience has been, I mean, nothing short of amazing. I am so happy I stepped outside of my comfort zone. I am so grateful that I was asked to come here and speak today on this panel. And the relationships that I've made with these people have been, you know, phenomenal. I never thought I would get so close to a bunch of people I was in drug court with. But it really is. And, you know, as time continues to pass, it gets better every single step of the way. And I never really considered myself much of an artist, but maybe that's something I should reevaluate, because I very much have enjoyed drama therapy, and I just want to thank you for, you know, having me come out and speak today.
Bring us back, bring us in. Come on, you got this.
You got it. Okay, so it was 6 years ago that I was sitting in the audience it was the first year I had the incredible honor of having the Akron Symphonic Winds sponsored by the Akron Community Foundation. And I heard some really awesome ladies speaking about art therapy. And I sat there thinking, God, I could never do that. And here I am. So wish me luck. And so Christina and I, what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago, were talking, and I was telling her, you know, our whole focus this year is on healing through the arts. So many people are in isolation right now. And it's not just the adults, it's the children as well. The pandemic, plus the current divisiveness going on in our community, we got to bring people together in a big way. So I thought the best way I can approach this is by giving you ideas that we've been doing with the Akron Symphonic Winds, sharing it with you, and so that way you guys can share with us your ideas as well, so we can conquer this together. And I have a cheat sheet, and I'm nothing without a music stand. So thank you. I'm a musician. Okay. So anyway, so the feelings of isolation and loneliness, we need to bring people together, right? No one is in a better position to do this than in the arts. Whether it's dance, drama, music, theater, we all, and of course applied art as well, and language included, we all are in a position to heal the heart. And that's what we're all about, and that's what we're doing. And, you know, and music, have you ever listened to a piece comes on the radio or whatever, and it brings you back to another place in time? Yes. That's the way to start the healing process. Because more likely than not, it brings you to a happy place, a happier place than you are today. Especially if you're one of our adults or one of our children that are experiencing loneliness, experiencing isolation, or just not in the swing of being social. Does that make sense? Okay, so people have gotten stuck in a rut and we got to pull them out. Bottom line. So anyway, playing something familiar really helps them. Okay, and it brings them to where we want to be. The next thing is picking venues, fully accessible venues, where they're already at. Okay, yeah, it would be nice to play a beautiful concert in a beautiful venue, but if it's not welcoming to them and people don't feel comfortable there, what's use, right? So it's really important we play in our parks. We play in our libraries. That's why I started our chamber music program for children's. It's bringing families and children together through music in the libraries with our smaller quintets, quartets, chamber music. So that way, and realize our children are in the libraries from the time they get out of school till their parents can pick them up. You've got a captured audience, okay? So you've got kids there that are there 2.5 hours a day to reach, and that's our job. That's, if we had it in the past now, we can cure them before problems even rise, and that's a great goal. This is why I wear them on my head. Okay. Community centers. Another big one. A lot of people do feel comfortable going to their church or going to their local community centers. Another really important venue to take advantage of, to say, hey, can we bring music to you? And then what I like, what we do with our concerts is, we don't thank you for coming to our concert. We thank you for sharing music with us. Okay, because this is a cumulative thing. We're sharing it together, not just from us to you, right? Because it's all about we, not about me. I sound like I'm teaching again. Okay. So along with venue of inclusivity and a venue where people are comfortable, it's also important to use a narrative, use language of inclusivity. Can't even say it. Inclusivity. But language that addresses everybody and is welcoming to everybody, whether they're teeny tiny tots or whether, they're children of a more mature age. It's really important to use the language that says, we are delighted to be sharing today with you. Helping people be actively involved, like in your case with drama and in your case with art and in ours with music. Whether it's active listening, which Galen does such a great job with his narrative of drawing the people into the music, but also we do really fun things. One time we did a Latin percussion piece and handed out instruments in the audience for people to play along. We taught them the riffs, they got it down, had a blast. Another one, it was a children's march. It was so flippin' cute. And we picked children out of the audience to come up and conduct the band. We didn't look up, so don't worry about it. It didn't throw us off. But it was so much fun. And getting the kids and getting the audience involved in the music and in the music making and in the learning of the music really makes a world of difference. Getting people to talk to each other. This sounds so basic, but it's so important because, I'm sorry, but we gotta pull them out. We really do, So even starting, whether it's in making art together or doing drama together or making music together, find someone in the audience you don't know and say hi, introduce yourself. Wow. Already they start to feel like a community. And when people start to feel like a community, the isolation is torn down, okay? Because they feel a part of a greater whole. And that's our goal. Humor. Gosh, guys, don't forget, a little smile and laugh goes a long way. Definitely incorporating humor into what you're doing. I mean, what we're doing is very serious. We're trying to cure the world, right? Okay? But doing it with a smile on your face and some, you're good at the jokes. I'm not as good. He's really good. But doing it with humor and the band, when you come to see us perform, please come see us perform. Oh my gosh, we're performing free concerts in the parks all summer long. We have a good time. He makes us laugh, we have a great time. The audience sees, hey, they're really chill, they're not uptight at all. So they start laughing along with us, and they have a good time, and that's what it's all about, is enjoying each other's presence. Caring and using inclusive language, incredibly important. This was really taking with our side-by-sides. We do side-by-sides each year with different schools. So whether we did 2 with Cuyahoga Falls Middle Schools, Bullock and Roberts. We just did Barberton High School. And like we introduced ourselves to the kids. Hi, I'm Linda. The kid next to me nearly fell off his chair. He's like, "You're introducing yourself to me?" And I could see the look on his face. My God, he was panicked. But we're putting ourselves on the same plane. We're about to play together and make music together. Yeah, I'm introducing myself, and my name is Linda. You know? So that way they realize, hey, we're all in this together. And did they not loosen up so incredibly? And they were so warm and so loving. And it gave them a feeling of self-worth. And don't worry, he's on in a minute. And this is actually where, and also hearing their word, hearing their voice. We give out surveys to hear what they want to hear, and then we program it the next year. And that way each year we could say, you pick this. You're a part of our programming, you're a part of us. Learning together, which is 100% you, because he really teaches the audience. And last but not least is about us. Collaboration is the key to success. The more you and I and we collaborate together, the more people we reach and the stronger we reach them. Okay? So collaborating with art and music, dance and drama, and so on. This is how we come together to thrive. Now, having said that, Maestro, oh my goodness, he always finds the coolest piece. He is the master of putting our programs together. I say, I want this, this, and this. He says, no, we really want this, this, and this. Okay, Galen. And he came up with this amazing piece, and I'm going to let him tell you all about it.
Oh, wow. Geez, that's a lot of accolades. I'm not quite sure how I live up to all of that. I think the thing that resonates for me with the organization that you mentioned earlier is there are a lot of young people, and even people of all ages, who maybe don't have the wherewithal to be connected to art because they can't buy a ticket to go to Severance Hall. Now granted, there are free ticket programs, and those are important parts of our community, but getting these things out to where they are so that they don't have to come seek to find it, I think is important. I must say, I'm in awe of both of your programs, and so I think what we do is important, but I think what we've heard about in terms of what you bring to the community is really unbelievable. And I had a flashback moment, speaking of music taking you back, you talking about music or art allowing you to say the things that you can't say out loud, allows you to express some of those feelings. I realize now that my mother, God rest her soul, was a music therapist and didn't know it, because when I would come home from school after having a bad day, she would endorse me going to my bedroom and pounding my drum set for 45 minutes, after which I felt better. And she would even say, because she was a drummer, she would say, leave the door open, I want to listen. And I would do that, and I would come out sweating, and I would feel better. And so I think that helping people realize that they can do art, because I think especially in performing arts like music and whatnot, that sometimes we see that and think, well, I couldn't do that, that's too hard. I think we all have an innate artistic ability to express. And I think art in and of itself has a way to connect to all of us, because it is the thing that allows us to express the unspeakable, and allows us to go into a place maybe that we don't want to go, but allows us to also heal a place where when we do go, needs healing. So the piece that she asked me to talk to you about, and we've actually had a couple of commissions that we've done at the university. I'm not going to play this one for you, but I am going to tell you that we commissioned one particular piece. We had a student that was in our program who was diagnosed with an inoperable form of brain cancer and passed away. And his dad asked me, what would it take to get a piece of music for him? And I told him. I then reached out to a composer who I knew was a French horn player who wrote a piece for us that we performed, and I think we're going to play it this summer with the Akron Symphonic Winds, and it's gorgeous. And it really is, when you know the story behind the piece, the art speaks to you in a different way. And I think that's part of what Linda's alluding to as far as the narration that we do at concerts, is to try to not just have you read a program note, but tell you something about the music so that when you listen to it, it connects in a more meaningful way, or in a different way, I suppose. But the piece that we commissioned that we're going to tell you about is entitled Uplift, We Rise Together. Now, Kevin Day, who we commissioned to write the piece for us, he basically stole the University of Akron slogan, the new marketing slogan. But he did say in the program notes that it's about us working together to help each other lift one another up. And you can hear it in the music in terms of the way that the melody rises, and it keeps rising. And if it's okay, I'll play just a little bit if you'd like to hear it. Would you? Okay. We'll see. Yep. Okay. So in some regards, I should not have told you what the program note is behind the piece. I should have had you listen to it with your eyes closed and see what visceral reaction you have. So I'll challenge you to do that. So close your eyes and just listen. Let it wash over you and see what feelings this conjures up for you. I just touched something and something bad happened. There we go. That's it.
Yeah.
Now. For time's sake, I'm going to skip ahead. We have euphoria, right? I mean, I remember the first time the students played that particular passage and they actually made it through together. They were like, wow, that's the coolest part ever. And as performers, and I think it's not just for musicians, but for any type of artist in an organization, like for theater, etc., you have personal accountability for making sure you have your part, and then you have group accountability for making sure that you're taking care of everyone else to make sure that they succeed as well. And I think that's one of the beautiful lessons that we're able to teach through music and through performing arts. And so that's a little bit about what we do. So thank you.
All right. I got this one, I think, yes. So we got a few more minutes, and today I have my colleague Mariana Silva, who I am totally throwing under the bus and saying, here, have at it, ask your questions. So she's gonna wrap us up with some additional questions before opening back up to you guys for questions from the audience.
Thank you. All right, so this question is for everyone. How do you train or support your staff in the ways that they facilitate your art-based experiences?
So with Second Act, we are a recovery-friendly workplace. And so what that means is that we actually created a recovery-friendly workplace committee, which includes not only staff, but also our actors and teaching artists, and created a recovery-friendly workplace manual. And that manual includes member support. And so if an actor or a staff member has a mental health reoccurrence, a substance use disorder reoccurrence. We have a 6-month plan of them reaching out to our drama therapist to, if they need to, step aside from the organization for a little while to focus on the recovery, or, if they feel that, they want to continue to do work, but they just want to have, more regular check-ins. We have this policy in place. It also includes, we have a very robust resource page as well. And then we also have trainings and workshops for our entire organization. And those workshops are kind of incorporate a lot of different things. One is Narcan training. Everyone within our organization is trained in how to use Narcan. We have an annual LGBTQI inclusive training language because our actors that go into schools for either our performances or our workshops, we want to make sure that our actors are using inclusive language. We also have trauma-informed care training, as well as youth suicide intervention and prevention training. So some of those things are helpful for our artists and staff to go out to provide our services.
Michelle, do you have any insight on how you keep your staff supported?
Well, in art therapy, I am the staff, so no. It's interesting though, because actually prior to working at community support services, flashback like 10 years ago in grad school, I actually did my thesis on compassion fatigue. Ironic. So
That's what we do.
right?
Yes.
So compassion fatigue is actually like a combination of secondary traumatic stress and burnout. It's a little, this is kind of going out, sorry. It's a little bit different than your typical burnout, like you're in a job, it's, you're just tired of doing it, you're exhausted, maybe the pay or the benefits don't outweigh the risks or the negatives involved. But in mental health, we see a lot of compassion fatigue with clinicians, staff, peer support, and so we try to find ways to combat that. We really, I feel at CSS specifically, it's the most supported I've ever been in any agency I've worked with. I feel valued, I feel my opinion is valued. Angie even heads the I can't remember what it's called, she's gonna yell at me. R&R committee.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's recognition and retention.
Thank you, recognition and retention. So we do fun things like we get a coffee truck like once a year that comes, we get free iced coffee, ice cream, different parties and things. There's a lot of different committees to support and help people if they need it, or even if you don't, to enjoy. But I do feel very, very valued there. And so I think one of my roles as a counselor is I do connect with my coworkers a lot and help them with their boundaries and the personal work-life balance to help reduce compassion fatigue. But as an art therapist, the one thing I love is I also get to do my own art while they're doing art. So a lot of times I can take care of myself and help self-regulate, and then kind of model that for my coworkers as well. It's funny because you talked about drumming, and one of the things I preach in trauma therapy is patterned repetitive movement. And a patterned repetitive movement is regulating for the brainstem. I did a lot of training in this fun stuff, so music, art, drama, are different ways that you can incorporate that patterned repetitive movement and actually calm the central nervous system when we're dysregulated. So this morning I was a little dysregulated in our group this morning because we had a lot of behaviors going on, as you might imagine with mental health, and I sat there and I drew an entire page of swirls. I was completely zoned in with them and we had a great conversation, but I was practicing how to regulate myself and take care of myself so I don't struggle with compassion fatigue. So that's one way.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. Do we have any questions from the audience?
I'm loud. Your art therapy at CSS, is it only for CSS clients, or can other people contract with CSS to provide art therapy for people with mental health or substance dependency?
Great question. I'm also loud, I don't need this, but I'll use it. I know you need it. So art therapy is specific to CSS with our services. However, we do take clients within Summit County with the funding from the ADM board that they can come to me just for art therapy. So they don't have to already be set up. They do need to go through our intake process, so they do need to have some type of mental health diagnosis that's affecting their life in some way. So if they were intaked through our agency, then I can see them for art therapy, even if they don't want to see us for psychiatry or for case management or something.
Awesome.
So great question.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
I have an observation. It's not really a question. It's really for Linda and Galen. I was recently at a presentation, University Hospitals, and what they're doing, University Hospitals is using music therapy instead of drugs in recovery following surgery, and they're having great success with it. And I don't know if you've spoken to anybody there, or if there's funding resources available to perhaps fund your programs, but UH is doing wonderful things with music therapy.
That is wonderful. I actually had students of mine. I was orchestra director up at Hathaway Brown School up by UH. And the Huja's family children are there at our school. And so we, in the dialysis unit, I had particularly cellists, but I had several of my string players play in the dialysis unit while people were receiving dialysis. And they say that they receive it much better and their system cleanses better as well because of the music while they're receiving treatment. It's incredible.
I have a question around community-based offerings. I heard that you do offer some music therapy at libraries and community centers. Is the Vernon Odom Library one of the sites that you offer music therapy programs?
We're not music therapy, we're just music and bringing people together through music, but having said that, if our grant goes through, I can include that library.
And the part I have nothing to do
And
with
it's
that. And my part two question is for the art therapists at CSS. Are there any community-based offerings for that service?
Is this one? We don't have anything out in the community currently. Everything is internal within CSS currently. Most of that is because we're a mental health agency. We have all the restrictions with HIPAA, confidentiality, all of that fun stuff. So not yet. I would at some point love to work on having more of an open studio that is community-based. I have a couple of clients who have talked about doing like a peer-run open studio where there's like a separate place where people can come and create art, like a similar to Summit Art Space, but like specifically for clients with mental health. So not yet.
I have a question. It's kind of a magic wand question. Is the biggest obstacle to serving more or serving better? Is it just funding? Is it access to trained therapists? Is it client awareness that you exist? Maybe each of you, I'm curious if there's any commonality to what the shortage is.
Staff. That's it, staff. We're understaffed. I'm the only art therapist. We'd love to have more. I have an intern starting in a couple weeks. That's wonderful. But currently, I don't know if this is bad PR for me, but everybody knows I have no filter. But currently 3 or 4 of the groups we normally do are on hold because we don't have enough staff for them.
So is it you have the funding for them, they just don't exist? Is that?
Yeah, we have the funding, we just can't find the staff. We have interviews and people don't show up. We try to hire, we go out to universities, like we're really trying. And it's very difficult to get, the whole field of mental health is very understaffed currently. You know, the caseworkers that have 80 and 100 clients, it's because, I mean, they normally should be at like 50. So we're incredibly understaffed. It's a brutal but honest answer. Yes.
I'll say funding, number one for us, absolutely, and second would be drama therapy is such a specific niche. I believe there are only a handful of drama therapists within the whole state of Ohio. Cassie in the back in the pink is actually our drama therapist, and I believe, did you say how many programs within North America to get?
There are currently 6 master's schools, like programs within North America, so also including Canada, so 5 in the States. So it's a very niche but mighty field.
Okay, so for us, staff is great because we're all musicians and music educators. Even, believe it or not, our music librarian is Marion the librarian. Okay, so they're all very qualified in what we do, which is fantastic. So for us, it's being able to be everywhere where we're needed and having the funding to do so. Because there's a lot of schools reaching out to us, but we don't want to expand by taking away from the schools we're already invested in, you know? So when we get the more funding, then we can expand and approach more schools, more libraries, more parks, more community centers, and so on. Absolutely.
We have one more question, a little more.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's just a quick thought, because I love for the instrumental music, bringing it to the spaces that are needed. Have you guys looked at maybe possibly diversifying your offering of music, you know, different genres that maybe appeal to certain students, certain communities? I think it would be powerful to do, like, I'm not saying rap, but, you know, things that are like spoken word and like that, so that we get more engagement from the community.
That's really good. You know, we're limited with our instrumentation, of course, right? Because we're a band. But having said that, that's why I started the kiddie concerts. What we're doing is we're incorporating children's stories with music. So Peter and the Wolf, Carnival of the Animals. Right now we're really gearing toward the little ones, toward children's, and toward our older crowd who really need to come out of isolation. However, having said that, we have a really big community here in the Akron area who have come from Nepal, who have come from, and Burma, Laos, and that's my next step that I'd really like to address, is bringing them into our program. Can we find a composer that would collaborate with them to make an open piece to invite them in? We play at the Akron Art Expo every year. How perfect would that be?
Well, Linda, meet Puspa. Slide Puspa.
We gotta talk, honey.
Hello, my name is Puspa Gajmer, and I am originally from Bhutan, and I work at Child Guidance as a counselor, and I'm also a musician, and I have been teaching music for over 20 years.
Wow.
In Nepal, India, and also here. And we have Himalayan Arts, Language and Cultural Academy. And my question to you is, like, music has such a power, you know, this will really connect people to people and solve our community to community. So have you ever worked with international communities, or what is your thought about this in working in future? Do you want to work with us so we can collaborate?
Yeah.
So
We love-
I totally planned this, guys.
It is so perfect. So, and this is what I meant by collaboration is key. Absolutely, and it's opportunities like this. Yes and yes, we want to, big time. So, and to do it with you. By the way, one of my favorite vacations, I taught in Hong Kong for 10 years, was going visiting Nepal and spending time in Nepal, making friends with the rock musicians in Nepal, because I'm a sax player, and having a great time in Nepal. So yeah, great community, great food, great music.
think there's definitely opportunities for, there are various pieces already in the canon of repertoire that we can explore that highlight music from other cultures. There is a new work, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but it includes, there's a rapper that raps with the wind band. Now, some of those pieces are a little harder than, because we only rehearse for about 2.5 hours once. And then we play the gig 5, 6 times,
For the whole summer.
7 times throughout the summer. But there is music like that, and that is something that's being explored. I just got an email today from Leon Teague, who's a really famous steel pan player from Trinidad, with a Rhapsody in Pan piece that he had commissioned that he wants to come and play with, potentially our Wind Symphony, and maybe we could do it with that. But so there is music that we will continue to explore, so that we make that a continued broad exploration. So those are really good ideas.
Well, just because it's you,
I'm
Judge.
sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm wondering if our drama therapy ever does musical theater.
So that's a great question. We haven't done that before. I definitely think it's something that could be explored. We would need to have more staff that has that musical background in order to implement that.
Or collaborate.
You're right.
Yes, we have students at the university we maybe could collaborate. And I have a question for you with the CSS, because some of our students are experiencing mental health, actually many of them, and yet they play an instrument. So you would think, well, if they're an artist and they play an instrument, shouldn't that be healing? When in fact it's not. And I'm sitting here listening to you thinking to myself, I wonder if there's a way for us to collaborate, for you to help our musicians learn better how to use their art for their own healing, rather than just learn how to be a really good performer.
That's a deep question.
Sorry,
I know
you just got to
no,
sit
that's
here in
okay.
front of that. But
I think that personally, I think there's a difference, like when a musician, an artist, something is doing it for someone else. It depends on the end goal. So when they're in school to be a musician, there's a lot more pressure. The perfectionism can kind of come in, the anxiety, the stress. I know that if somebody says, hey, can you make this art piece for me? I F it up every time. However, if I just make something for myself, it's perfect and beautiful. And so, like maybe collaborating with how can we help them do it for them. I think honestly all of us could collaborate. We could do music, art, drama all together. I know we do a drumming and art together combo, and that's fun. We do spoken word and art together. We do lyric analysis and art. It's fun. So I think we could all make one big show.
Well, thank you. Please, a round of applause for our panelists. And thanks everyone for joining us. Again, it's always a pleasure to have our community members come and speak to us and share more about the work that they're doing. Thanks to Summit Art Space for hosting us, Heather.